Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. Tuesday night, 22nd of October, 2024. Okay, and the title inside the room is the King James Bible and the Four Beasts are exposed. Right, we're going to break that down with even more clarity than we've been in the past. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at and review and check them out and get the meat out of them, get a greater understanding of what's really going on when it comes to the Tanakh compared to the New Testament. Okay, these videos will lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. And for those that want to support the channel, we have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen. So that too will be greatly appreciated. Okay. Like I said before, our hours of operation for this channel right here, Prophets of Awakening, is Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. We on from 7 to 9 Central Time p.m. And then we have two Shabbat classes on Saturday on the Shabbat, 10 to 12 a.m. And then we come back in the evening and close out the Shabbat from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay. So if you want to join us on any one of those days, you're welcome. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts, our Redeemer. Okay. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms. Then we have some current events, some need to know information. Then we open it up for some Q&A and a little dialogue. Then we go into our topic, which is King James Bible and the Four Beasts. We're going to expose that and uncover it. Okay. So with that being said, this moment of silence for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto Thee, and therefore we come before Thee at this hour, seeking Thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before Thee as Thy servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did. For we desire to walk after Thee, O Lord, keep Your commandments and Your testimony, and Your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by Your prophets. O Lord, allow Thy face to shine upon Thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not Thy face from us any longer, for we need You so very much at this hour. Peace be unto You. Okay. We'll read the Psalms. Okay. I'll read Psalms 24. The King of Glory. It's a Psalm of David. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. For He hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the foot of the floods. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who shall stand in His holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. He shall receive the blessings from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. This is the generation of them that seek Him, that seek Thy face, O Jacob. Selah, lift up your hands, O ye gates, and be lifted up for everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, Even lift them up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Selah. Okay, so that was Psalm 24. And what I like about this psalm is it tells you in the last verse who the King of glory is. It says, who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts is the King of glory. Selah. Okay, so with that being said, anybody have any comments to the pertaining to that song? Okay, with our current events. Nobody don't know. This week is the week that they having a brick summit, so we should be expecting some stuff to go down this week. Okay.
For the future of the global monetary system is intensifying, and all eyes are on the BRICS 2024 summit starting today under Russia's chairmanship. The summit aims to shape a new world order through expanded membership, a BRICS pay platform, and critical oil pricing discussions, all while talks about a BRICS IMF-style institution signals a warning to Western dominance aimed squarely at dethroning the US dollar. But just how close is all of this to happening, and what does it mean for you? Today, we'll break down everything you can expect to see from this week's summit, as well as how these advancements pose a direct threat to the dollar and therefore your savings and financial security. BRICS, an economic alliance focused on de-dollarization, originally stood for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but has been gaining momentum and over the last year expanded to include Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia, and the UAE. In what is being called the largest hosted political event in Russia, this week's summit is expected to see over 32 nations, all of which have expressed interest in joining BRICS. By the end of this week's summit, we could expect to see new members such as NATO ally Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, or petrodollar partner Saudi Arabia. Last year, Saudi Arabia was offered membership but chose to hold off on accepting, choosing instead to maintain their relationship with the United States and giving some the confidence that the dollar wasn't in that much trouble. But this year, all of that could change. In fact, oil-producing country UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Russian President Putin already met yesterday ahead of today's summit to discuss the possibility of pricing oil in alternative currencies. Should the UAE strike a new agreement, or should Saudi Arabia officially join BRICS, the dollar's position as the global reserve currency and therefore the foundation of the United States' global influence and power would almost immediately be in jeopardy. This is because since the 1970s, the demand for dollars has remained somewhat stable, primarily thanks to the petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia and the US, which dictated that oil would be priced in USD. But in recent years, this has become shaky, especially as the UAE has deepened ties with China and has considered pricing more oil in yen or other alternative currencies. And while the dollar wouldn't lose all value overnight, we could expect to see higher borrowing costs for the United States, resulting in more inflation, meaning that there would be a significant decline in the standard of living here in the US. But oil pricing is only one of the threats to King Dollar expected to come out of this week's summit, with a new payment system having already been teased and many expecting even larger announcements to follow. This week, the first footage of a BRICS pay system, which bypasses the US dollar for trade and transactions, was released. BRICS Pay is a type of credit and debit card blockchain system that transfers currency in real time without the need for any Western-controlled technology. And although there will be many more details coming out this week, the card might soon be live across BRICS countries, which would significantly increase local currency utilization and reduce dependence on the US dollar. In addition to the BRICS-based system, many are also speculating that this week there's going to be an announcement that some are referring to as the Bretton Woods III agreement, essentially a move away from inside money and towards outside money. Inside money not being money at all, but rather fiat currencies like the US dollar or the yen, whereas outside money is outside of the typical financial framework of their control, such as commodities like oil or gold. These countries understand that gold is true money, that it has intrinsic value because there is a finite amount of it. Therefore, it is always going to be a safe store of value, unlike a fiat currency that can be devalued at a country's whim or can be weaponized against another country. If a country were to hold large quantities of physical gold, it ensures that should they launch a new gold-backed currency, there would probably be more trust in that currency, and that also they're far less likely to be at the mercy of US policymaking decisions. Following the hit on Russia's financial system by the US after invading Ukraine in 2022, Russia and other BRICS countries are focused on ensuring they don't find themselves in the same powerless position again, with their US assets frozen and or seized. This is why China's central bank has been decreasing their US holdings and significantly increasing their gold reserves in what could be a play to launch a gold-backed currency or just to strengthen their options outside of the US dollar. Russian Finance Minister Anton Siluanov stated last week, and I quote, "It is necessary to form new conditions or even new institutions, similar to the Bretton Woods institutions, but within the framework of our community, within the framework of BRICS." The current.
Okay. Any comments on that? I advise everybody to keep an eye on that this week. But anybody have any questions, comments about that? What you think?
Shalom. Um, Being that these countries are, well, the ones that's going to indicate the I in BRICS, India, Estonia, I think she said, all those other ones that's coming about to join, um, it's going to be more than 20. And I think these people that's getting together, and I believe like China was mostly forced into it, more so than volunteered to come into BRICS when they did come in. Do you see any pattern of them joining in with um, Russia's and or the rest of them as freely as they did, or did they come in under some distress, forcing? Because they are really with the U.S. as far as our trading deals going about, and we do the most trading with them. So I was just sat back and was thinking about that, how China's now still engaging with the U.S., with the West, but yet um, doing a lot with Russia. Do they have an alternative motive with that? I mean, because they also with Africa doing like building their ports and airports and in the seaports, but yet they are with Russia. Seem to be now more with them, helping them with their military drills. Just
Yeah. So China is the sea that's in BRICS is China. So China is at odds with America. China, Russia, India, and South Africa, they're at odds with the U.S.
but yet they're still, having contracts and things
Right. Yeah,
with
they just
and
using tact and being nice, but their objective is, and it's not no secret that they want to bring America down.
how Russia still has Moscow, which we have a um, a place there where people could go and if they felt threatened or something, they can go there and you know cross over into that area. As Americans live there also, so so much going on where they have connections with the U.S. and what they mainly is taking away is the dollar versus alienating the people that lives there that's U.S. citizens, well, from the U.S., and they're decided to live or to um, go to school in those countries. And yet they're, they're planning things for the U.S., but they have U.S. citizens living in their country.
Right. Yeah, right. That's business as usual. But like I said, their objective is to bring down the West. And those people that's over in their country, when they do come down, it's gonna be on them to find a way out of there, or they're gonna have to conform. Because BRICS is the whole objective is to bring down the West. They're tired of what they're doing, what they got going on. So yeah. Anybody else got anything? Everybody good? Okay. So one of these countries that is supposedly to join BRICS during this conference is none other than Burkina Faso. Check it out.
With inflation, even my tutoring wasn't cutting it. And my husband was already working almost 80 hours a week.
So, about to shake the world order, Burkina Faso is joining BRICS to move away from the US dollar and euro by joining BRICS. But critics are saying de-dollarization is still far off. Is that true? Can nations representing nearly half of the world's population who seek to be part of BRICS really not dethrone the dollar? Let's find out. Let's get one thing straight. The current global financial order, led by the dollar and euro, is not built on some divine economic principle. It's a political construct designed to perpetuate Western hegemony. Ever wonder why the dollar is still the world's reserve currency despite the US accumulating trillions in debt? It's not because the US economy is so strong, it's because of an orchestrated system designed to keep the dollar afloat, regardless of its actual economic foundation. This monopoly keeps developing nations, particularly in Africa, shackled to policies that don't favor them. Take a look at how this system operates. The dollar's dominance means that most international transactions are conducted in US dollars, and African nations must hold reserves of these currencies just to participate in global trade. In doing so, they are vulnerable to the whims of US monetary policy. When the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates, for example, African economies suffer from capital flight, currency devaluation, and inflation, all for decisions made in Washington that have nothing to do with Africa's economic reality. It gets worse. The euro follows a similar path. As the currency of former colonial powers, the euro still holds an outsized influence over African markets, particularly in former French colonies.
So, like I was saying, the euro and the dollar in the West, they're using it as a agent for oppression. That's the reason that Africa is in the predicament it's in for the last 200 years or so, because of what they're doing with the American dollar and what they're doing with the euro. So these people, they hit set on getting rid of that. That's what BRICS is all about.
The CFA franc, still pegged to the euro, leaves many African nations essentially reliant on European economic decisions. Burkina Faso, as part of this system, has no real control over its monetary policy. And why? So that the elites in Paris and Frankfurt can keep their economies stable at the expense of African growth. So, for Burkina Faso, aligning with BRICS isn't just an economic decision, it's a political one, a rebellion against this monetary dictatorship. The BRICS nations are working to develop a new global currency framework that will reduce dependency on the dollar and euro, giving nations like Burkina Faso a real shot at economic sovereignty. And let's be honest, anyone who claims that sticking with the current system is in Africa's best interest is either naive, profiting from the exploitation, or deliberately looking the other way. But can BRICS stand against the dollar and euro? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. You'll hear the detractors say that BRICS, being made up of developing nations, lacks the unity or strength to counter the dollar or euro. But that's a lazy argument, and let's expose it for what it is, a straw man. Critics love to create an exaggerated version of BRICS, claiming it's doomed to fail because the member states are too diverse, too politically fragmented, or lack the economic might to stand up to Western currencies. This critique misses the point entirely. BRICS nations are not some small, inconsequential players. Together, they represent a significant portion of the world's population, trade, and economic activity. China alone is an economic giant, and India isn't far behind. Dismissing the BRICS coalition as ineffective, because it's made up of emerging economies, is not only disingenuous, but also a tactic used to undermine its growing influence. Critics also like to claim that these nations don't have the cohesion necessary to present a united front. But isn't that the exact argument used against every regional coalition or international organization when they first formed? The European Union faced similar...
So it's business as usual, just like they're doing with BRICS, trying to downplay its importance and downplay the effect that they have on the world. They did the same thing with our books, our lost books. Denigrated them, downplayed them, and got the average person won't even engage it. So this ain't nothing new that they're doing right now. They're pros at that propaganda. Okay. Any questions on that? Or if not, I'm gonna go to my need to know. Okay. So, like I said, we're 2 weeks out from the election.
.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Narveen Sheikh in New York with Amy Goodman in Washington, D.C. We end today's show looking at the rising risk of a broader regional war in the Middle East. The Pentagon has announced U.S. B-2 bombers attacked 5 Houthi targets in Yemen earlier today. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the attacks came in response to Houthis, quote, destabilizing behavior. Houthi fighters have attacked vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden since November and vowed to continue until Israel ends its assault on Gaza and Lebanon. This comes as the Biden administration is deploying an advanced anti-missile defense system and 100 U.S. troops to Israel, as Israel threatens to carry out retaliatory strikes against Iran in response to Iran's recent ballistic missile attack on Israeli military and security sites. Earlier today, the commander of Iran's elite revolutionary guards issued a new warning to Israel. The commander, Hossein Salami, was speaking at the funeral of Brigadier General Abbas Nilforoshan, who was killed in the Israeli attack that killed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
You, Israel, may imagine that dads can compensate for your shortcomings in defending you. This is a mistake. Do not trust the tubes of these launchers. You cannot massacre Muslim nations, but remain safe, secure, and live in peace. No, that cannot happen.
We're joined now by Trita Parsi, Executive Vice President of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. He's the author of several books, including Losing an Enemy, Obama, Iran, and the Triumph of Diplomacy. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Trita. If you could just begin by responding to this latest news.
So I think it's extremely important for the American public to understand that what Biden has done here is that he has deployed U.S. troops into an active war zone in another country's war. There are no direct and clear U.S. interests at stake here. And the Biden administration is essentially presenting this as if it is defending Israel or helping Israel defend itself, whereas in reality, these are the distinction between defensive and offensive weapons here is rather irrelevant, because what the Biden administration is doing is reducing the cost for Israel to escalate tensions in the region. Every time Biden does this, it makes it easier for Israel to escalate, and as a result, it has continued to do exactly that. If Biden was not reducing the cost of escalation, it would have been costlier for Israel to do the steady escalation as we've seen in the last year, widening of the war. And it would have thought twice. Perhaps the cost would even have been prohibitive. So if the Biden administration's actual goal is to prevent the widening of the war, prevent escalation in the region, adding defensive or any type of military capabilities to the side that actually is leading the escalation is not something that in any way, shape, or form actually can help calm the situation down. Instead, it actually helps fuel tensions in the region and increases the likelihood of the very same widening of the war that Biden claims that he is against.
Can you give us, Trita, a chronology of what happened? The bombing on the inauguration of the new president by Israel of Tehran, not clear if it was an airstrike, if it was a bomb that was planted that killed the Hamas negotiator, Ismail Haniyeh. Then that was Israel. Iran waits weeks and then attacks with 180 anti-ballistic missiles that kill no one but a Palestinian who died from not clear the.
Yeah, I want to go back. Something just wrong, struck a chord, right? Let's check it out.
The very same widening of the war that Biden claims that he is against.
Can you give us, Trita, a chronology of what happened? The bombing on the inauguration of the new president.
You heard that? Said that Biden then bombed Iran on the day of inauguration. Let that ferment. Okay. Yeah, anybody got a question, comments on that?
Shalom. Yes, when he said widening the border, did you widening the border? What they were meaning by that?
The border, you know, the line, the
Yeah.
lines for the country.
Yes, sir. So I mean, aren't they fighting for the
Extending
right
it
to
out.
Yes, sir. So
Right.
they're wiring it as they're going about this fight, or it's just saying this is the reason why they're doing it, or they're rehashing that they're doing it because to widen the border, or they're widening the border as they fight and continue to come forward, and they're claiming land as they move forward.
Exactly. They're claiming in land. That's what their objective was from the. That was their objective from the beginning. Was they want more land to build more settlements for Israel, and they disguising it. But their whole objective is they actually want all of Gaza. They extend to Israel's border. Okay. If you look at the map from when they first got there in 1948, and look at the land they got now, every year they slowly extending their borders out. And that's where all the drama coming in at. Okay.
Shalom. So biblically, it all belongs to one, or to the Palestinians, or to Egypt, the whole land. I mean, as a unit prior to separating it, how much was one versus the other?
Well, you got a King James Bible.
Yes, sir. I have.
Look in the back on the map. You got maps in the back of it. They give you the actual borders of Israel during the time of King David. That's the actual borders. So, and you look at that, and you look at a map where Israel is today. It's not the same. So this is what it's all about. These people trying to. When I got videos on it, they're trying to extend they want the original borders that King David had, which is Lebanon. All that is included. They want all, and thinking of that country. I can't think of it. It's a Muslim country, but all those borders, they want extended out to those borders. Their objective is to rule the world from the original borders that was given when Moses came and Joshua, and then when David reigned. In the back of the book, like King James, it says, the nation of Israel, the kingdom days. That's David and Solomon. So if you look at that, and that's your plumb line. And look at what the borders they have now. So they're trying to extend it out to the original borders that David had. Okay.
Yes, sir. I see it.
Right.
Okay. All righty.
So, with that being said, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything they want to talk about?
Shalom, brother Leonard.
Yeah.
When you was talking, I was listening to the women's class yesterday,
Okay.
and I didn't even read to check this story in the Bible, but I got the book by that white lady Jill Eileen Smith,
Right.
and she got those books, you know, Leah, Rachel, Rebecca, and Eve. So I got all of them, but I was
Right.
reading the Rachel one, and the Rachel one pretty much like when you was talking about the continents of the woman, how she was moving fast, excuse me, to get the water and things like that.
Right.
Rachel did the same thing when Eliezer, when he came up, and how she got the water and all of that. But my question though is, because I don't know if this was in the Bible or Josh or anything, Laban said in this book right here, Laban and his mom did the same thing to get the birthright that Jacob had to do. So like after Bethuel, their father died,
Right.
Bethuel the second is really the oldest, and then Laban was the second oldest.
Right.
And then, but him and his mom, they did whatever so Laban could run the estate. Is that story in the Bible? That's my question. I know I ramble, but
No. It's not in the Bible, but it's ironic that you brought that up though, because it's underlined. It's in there, but it's covered up because of you got to be in a certain place to see it. So in the story when I was reading out of the King James, you notice how I said that they wasn't Abraham came from that region. Those they wasn't actually no wealthy people. But when the Lord got behind Abraham, it told him to get out from amongst their people. Abraham became wealthy. Abraham had, and so that's why when his servant got there, Eliezer got there, he, the girl Rebecca bowed down and gave him his water and all that. Then he gave her some earrings and jewels.
right,
Which in today's society, that's a whole bunch of money. So she freaked out. But if you go back and read that, you will see Laman freaked out more than her.
right, yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So that's tied into what you're saying. So then go and look at Laban handle Jacob when he went there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Eliezer went there during the time with Isaac. Then later on, Jacob fled there, fleeing from Esau. And then Laman, you see his countenance right there. It ties right in with what you just brought up. See,
Yes, sir.
he bent on money and wealth. And
Right.
those are the reasons why you can see him doing what he did with that that you were saying about the birthright.
Yes, sir. Cause it was also saying in there that cause the mom wanted her to marry a wealthy man too, and
Right.
Bethuel just would have let her marry whoever she fell in love with. But Laban, but she knew Laban would have her marry a wealthy man. So yeah, I wanted to ask that.
Right. And the whole time too, when you understand that right there, Laman knew that because of earlier what happened with Rebecca, Laman knew Jacob had a whole Abraham and Jacob had a whole bunch of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? He knew that the whole time he was dealing with him. Because remember how he tricked him with Leah.
Right.
See what I'm saying? All that was about, you got to go back and look at what happened when Eliezer got there, because it tells you when you go back and read it that after he had gave those earrings and all that to Rebecca, then it turned around and says, it said in the scriptures, he gave jewels and garments and raiment to Laban and his mother.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Shalom.
Right. So that's almost like my man what his name with Elijah Gehazi. Remember that story?
I'm sorry. You said who, sir?
Remember Laban? I mean not Laban, but Elijah when the guy came to he had leprosy, Naaman.
Right. Yes, sir.
And Elijah healed him, and then Naaman had a whole bunch of wealth, and he wanted to give it to Elijah, and Elijah said, "No, they ain't. I ain't with that. This, what just happened to you was from the Lord." But his servant Gehazi ran and got out and got all the jewels that Naaman had.
Right.
And then the Lord put the curse that was on Naaman, he put it on Gehazi. Okay, so that's pretty much the same thing. It's that spirit that was on Gehazi is on Naaman. Okay. Right.
And then, Mr. Leonard, my last thing I say too. Do you think, at least in this book, it says when once Jacob did show up, though, Bethuel was actually the one to say, "Nah, she gonna marry him," though. Like he overrid Laban's decision because he was like kind of on the fence still. Because like you said, he was awestruck in the gold she had on. In this book, it says she had like a nose ring, some like bangles, and that garment, like you said, and then stuff for her mom and her brother. So he was so awestruck. And then Bethuel was like, "Nah, that's her husband."
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then too, to build off of that, remember they tried to keep him, Laman them tried to keep him there longer, and then he said, "Now, make the decision now, because I can't keep my master waiting."
Right. Yeah, we got to slide today.
Yeah, we gotta go. He was trying to keep him there and trying to get all he can out of Gehazi while he was there.
Sir.
Yeah. Is there something?
That is.
Oh yeah. So, anybody else got anything they want to bring up, chop up? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna play this here because this gonna lead into the topic I'm talking about, which is the King James and the four beasts, exposing it. I got a lot of videos on here about that, but this brings it together a whole lot more clearer than it already is. So I'm gonna check it out. So what I'm playing right now is this guy is breaking down who the Gentiles are, right?
To my channel, I'm Lawyer James. I'm very interested into cinematography and graphic design. One of the other areas that I'm heavily involved with is research when it comes to esoteric and exoteric information, as well as diving into spiritual mysteries, because it's very important to be on some sort of path of attainment. So in this particular video, we're going to be looking at who are the Gentiles and why it's important. Keep watching. Okay, all right, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in again. So who are the Gentiles? So I've seen several videos that's out there. Most of the videos I've seen have been leading from an emotional perspective. What I typically like to do is research ancient texts, dealing with it from a scholastic level. So we're going to go into a couple of books in this particular video to try to identify who the Gentiles are and see why it's important. One of the first resources that I'll be diving into would be the Septuagint. All right, now I'll leave links to these resources underneath the like button in the description area. So if you're interested in opening up the investigation on your own or following along, this is to my key light here. If you're interested in following along, you'll be able to do that, okay? So I'm gonna open up the Septuagint here, and we're gonna go to the book of Genesis. We're gonna look at chapter 10, and we're going to start at verse 1. So it says, Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, and Javan, and Elisah, and Tabel, and Mosach, and Theodorus. And the sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, and Rapha, and Thorgamah. And the sons of Jovan were Elisah, and Tharsis, Kittims, Rodians. From these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, in their tribes and in their nations. So as we see, now you can actually, if you have like a King James Version Bible or something along those lines, you can also go to this same chapter, Genesis chapter 10. In Genesis chapter 10, it deals with the genealogies of the sons of Noah after the deluge, after the so-called flood that took place, right? So then these particular sons started having children and so forth, and then they were being identified. So that's what you find in Genesis chapter 10, is something like a table of nations, so to speak. So now that we know that the descendants of Japheth are the Gentiles, the reason why we want to kind of go a little bit into other books is because we had something that happened. Like, for example, you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So you had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right? So Isaac had the twins, right? And then those twins were Esau and Jacob. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Esau, there were some instructions that Isaac gave his sons, and he wanted them not to actually mingle.
So this is one of the points I was making right here about anybody that's dealing with this. A lot of people on Prophets of Awakening understand this. They understand who the Gentiles are, but they're not Noah's son, right? But most people, they dealing with this under the illusion that this is Noah's son, but everything they read is telling you otherwise. Like he just said right here, he just said that the Gentiles and they nation and they people, and then he's gonna get on further. He's gonna see where the Lord of hosts told them don't mingle with them. But go to when they got in the land of Israel, he told them, Israelites, Hebrews, and Israelites can intermingle with each other. So if Noah's a Hebrew, then Japheth should be a Hebrew. Why is he called Gentile? Why he ain't no Hebrew? That's his son. And then the Creator don't want them dealing with him. So all these red flags, but they don't see that. But check it out.
Mingle with certain families and so forth. So he mingled with the Canaanites. He had children with the Canaanites, and when we go into so he married one of the sons of one of the daughters of Ishmael, and he also married some daughters from Canaan, so to speak. So when we go into a book, there's another book. It's the book of Jasher. And the book of Jasher is referenced in the Septuagint or in the Bible a couple of times. It's referenced in the book of Joshua, and it's also referenced in 2 Samuel. There are other books that are referenced in the Bible for the true studier and seeker of knowledge. You'll be able to find those things if you seek and if you knock on the appropriate doors. So a quick tip is the book of Jasher. Now, in the book of Jasher, if we go over to chapter 90, something very unique happens in chapter 90. I like starting at the first verse just to build context, because in the book of Isaiah, it talks about how you should look at information precept upon precept. It's Isaiah chapter 28, verse 10. It talks about precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. And then it talks about here a little and there a little, because you have to piece it together like a puzzle, because it's fragmented information that we have today, because certain individuals once they discovered these particular texts and so forth, or had certain individuals translated for them, then there were certain agendas that were set in motion. So their higher powers were aware and are aware of these particular events that were going to take place. So certain types of energies were placed on individuals to write a certain way. So later on, those who were being called back to the force or being called back to the origin would be able to trace the steps by seeking the old path, if that makes sense. So let's start at verse 1 just to build some context, but our focus is going to be verse 27 and so forth. But we're going to start at verse 1 in the book of Jasher, okay? So it says, at that time, in the 5th year, after the children of Israel had passed over Jordan, after the children of Israel had rested from their war with the Canaanites, at that time, great and severe battles arose between Edom and the children of Kittim. And remember, Kittim is a descendant of who? Japheth. We learned that when we read.
This is why it's so important to understand who Japheth is, right? Right here.
Genesis chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. So then it goes on to say, and the children of Kittim fought against Edom. Okay. Now we know that the reason why I started out by saying their war with the Canaanites is because the Canaanites and Edom in this particular context here are one people. Okay. So then it says, and Abanus, king of Kittim, went forth in that year, that is in the 31st year of his reign, and a great force with him of the mighty men of the children of Kittim, and he went to Seir to fight against the children of Esau. Okay. And Hadad, the king of Edom, heard of his report, and he went forth to meet him with a heavy people and strong force, and engaged in a battle with him in the field of Edom, which is Seir. It says, and the hand of Kittim prevailed over the children of Esau, and the children of Kittim slew of the children of Esau 22,000 men, and all the children of Esau fled from before them. And the children of Kittim pursued them, and they reached Hadad, king of Edom, who was running before them, and they caught him alive and brought him to Abanus, king of Kittim. And Abanus ordered him to be slain, and Hadad, king of Edom, died in the 48th year of his reign. And the children of Kittim continued their pursuit of Edom, and they smote them with a great slaughter, and Edom became subject to the children of Kittim. Okay, so now let's move up to verse 27, which was the target verse to begin with. So then it says, and the children of Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and the Lord gave them rest from all around them, and they dwelt securely in their cities. So they were securely in their cities at this particular time. It says, and it came to pass in those days that Abanus, king of Kittim, died in the 38th year of his reign, that is the 7th year of his reign over Edom. And they buried him in his place, which he had built for himself, and Latinus reigned in his stead 50 years. And during his reign, he brought forth an army, and he went and fought against the inhabitants of where? Britannia and Crenania, the children of Elisha, son of Javan. And Javan is who? He is a descendant of Japheth. These are Gentiles, right? It says, and he prevailed over them and made them tributary. He then heard that Edom had revolted from under the hand of Kittim, and Latinus went to them and smote them and subdued them, and placed them under the hand of the children of Kittim, and Edom became what? One kingdom with the children of Kittim all the days. Okay.
So this right here, this is the part I played that because to set up for this discussion. So now Kittim has went and subdued Esau. This is how Esau disappeared off the scene right here, because now he's under Kittim. It's no longer. So first thing that the king did, Abanus did, was he killed the king that was over the Edomites. Now he the king over the Edomites. And then he incorporated Edom into Kitchem. So now we're going to go to scriptures right quick before we go into this lesson, and you're going to see that back to Genesis chapter 10 right quick, and you're going to see what happened. And if you don't understand this, you can't. You're trying to read the scriptures, trying to rightly divide them. And like the brother was saying, you can go precept upon precept all you want, but if you don't understand what's going to happen, it ain't going to register. So you go to Genesis chapter 10, based off what we just read, what we just heard, and it says in verse 2, the sons of Japhet, right, which we know is not Noah's son, Gomer, Magog, Midian, Javan. That's what he just said. The son, the king of Chechem, went and subdued Javan. And then after he subdued Javan, he said that the Edomites had rebelled against him. So he went back and he subdued Esau. And then from that point on, Esau didn't exist no more. He was under the hand of Chechem. So if you keep reading in Genesis chapter 10, verse 4, and the sons of Javan, right, Elisheba and Tarshish and Chichem. So Chichem, when you do your research, is the Romans. So when you understand that the Romans is actually the Edomites, and we know that the Edomites, got a perpetual hatred for the Israelites. So that hatred, that spirit of hatred, now the Romans possess it. They already had it too because they came from Cain. Cain had a problem with Adam's seed line. So you got this double hatred. So, but anyway, when you go back and look at this, Javan is the third beast. And Daniel tell you the Greeks. And then the fourth beast is the Romans. But they've been intermingled and amalgamated, however you want to say that word, into Edom. But they hid because the nobody don't understand that. So like I said, Chichem is wrong. So let's go one more place to show you what I mean by having an understanding of that. So you go to First Maccabees, the book of the Apocrypha, and you go to the First Maccabees. Let me get it. Then we'll go into the lesson. We just had to set that up. So you go to First Maccabees, the book of First Maccabees and Apocrypha, and then it tells you right here, chapter 1, verse 1. It came to pass after Alexander. So this is the Alexander the Great, right? Of Macedon, right? The son of Philip, who came from the land of Chechem. See that? So Alexander is a Edomite, but they've been subdued. From what the history we just got from the brother is that now they're not being proclaimed as Edom no more. They Romans. Chichem. So I'm reading again. Came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, who came from the land of Chechem. See that? So he's a Roman. They Romans. The Edomites are by bloodline, but they fall under the banner of the Romans. Okay? So keep that in mind. So that's the fourth beast. Chechem is the fourth beast. It's a mixture of Javan, the Greeks, which is the third beast, and then Edom and Chechem. They all became one. Okay, so keep that in mind. So with that understanding, we go into this discussion, which is it's the King James Bible and the fourth beast is exposed. We're gonna expose it, right? And the first thing I want to do is feed. You know what I'm saying? This right here is huge. You go to Genesis chapter 1. I showed you how that you got our Redeemer is the Lord of hosts, which is Michael, right? And He's the strong one. He's the El over Israel. So if you go to Genesis chapter 1, okay, and you'll see in chapter 1 it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And then this is Yahweh. Like I said, they tricked this word off God. You gotta know, I understand what's really going on. So it says in the beginning, God, which is Yahweh, created the heavens and earth. Then verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So Yahweh in verse 1, then Spirit of God is an angel, which is none other than the Lord of hosts. Same, just they worded it different because they don't want you to understand what's going on. But that's the Lord of hosts, the Spirit of God, which is the spirit of the Lord, or the angel of God. Same thing is the Lord of hosts. So we see the both of them right there. Now I want to show you what they did. So remember how that it was in Ezekiel chapter 1, how it was these four angels. We see in Tower of Babel, these four angels came down. And we see it in Ezekiel chapter 1, when the cloud came, four angels in the cloud. So the Most High is dealing with these four angels. So now let's look at this. Let's go over here too. And we know that it's the different God in the New Testament. So I want to show you what they done. And you can let it ferment. Let me get it. I'm in Matthew. So before I go there, I'm gonna show you. I want to show you something else based off what I just showed you. So if you go to Malachi, quick, we didn't went over some of this before, but I got some more meat to it. So you go to Malachi, and then you see in Malachi that the book of Malachi is the last book in this King James. They tell us it's the last book. So when you understand what's going on, this is it's four beasts. It's four beasts that's that Daniel prophesied is coming. Not 5 or 6, but 4. We at the end of this book right here, Malachi, is we in the second beast. We're in the second beast, and it's telling you that Malachi tells you that at the end he's gonna raise Elijah up, right? At the very end, he's gonna raise Elijah up, and Elijah's gonna come back and he's gonna resurrect our forefathers, which is Ezekiel 37, and we're gonna reunite our forefathers that he raised up out of the grave, along with David, to us, the seed that's alive on the earth. That's Elijah's objective. So notice that's into the second beast, right? So now let's go to, they got Hotel records, right? When Antiochus came, they got Hotel records, and I showed you how in Alexandria, Egypt, with this library, because the objective was to get our records out of Hebrew. They wanted to put it in Greek because the last two beasts is Greeks. That's why they wanted, and then from there, once they translated to the Septuagint, they was able to start tampering with it, hoodwinking it, right? So let's look at it. We get to Malachi. John, the book of John. So, like I said before, you got these four angels all through the Old Testament. Well, they got four gospels, right? So let's look at it. John. So we saw that it was Yahweh in the beginning, and we saw how he was talking to somebody he's talking to. Let me give you an example of that before I go to this. So you go back to Genesis, like I gotta bounce around a little bit to get this understanding out. So it says, let me get it. Bible tore up. So in the beginning it says, go to the beginning. So it says, chapter 1 of Genesis, verse 3. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning was the first day. Then it says, and God said. See that? So he talking to somebody. And I showed you who it was. He talking to the creating spirit. That's what Michael means. He who is like Yahweh. So he's commanding Michael. Then Michael doing what he's telling him to do. That's why it's saying God said. All through here, all through the creation story, God said. He talking to somebody. So he got to be something mentally wrong if he just talking to people and talking to ain't nobody there. So he's commanding the Lord that's with him, Lord of hosts that's with him, commanding him, then he's doing it. So now let's get to John and show you what they done. Right. So you go to John, and in John chapter 1. I don't need to go but to the first 5 verses. I'm gonna read it first, then I'll go back and show you what they done. Chapter 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him there was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. So when you understand who it was in the beginning, Yahweh, I showed you Yahweh talking to him, commanding him to do things. So you come back and you read this the right way. John. This was where the hoodwink started at with these gospels. So chapter 1, verse 1 of John, I'm gonna read it the right way. In the beginning was the Lord of hosts, and the Lord was with God, and the Lord was God. What do Michael mean? He who was like Yahweh. See that? Then 2, the same was in the beginning with God. That's Lord of hosts. They just tricked this out, put the word in there, and say that it's JC. So 3, all things were made by him. You say, what are you talking about? Let's look at it. Go to Isaiah right quick. I read this verse all the time, and just add more clarity to it. Go to Isaiah, right? And it says, and this is the reason he's talking like this, when you understand who it is. Isaiah 43, right? Isaiah 43, verse 10. He's talking to the Israelites, right? Ye are my witnesses, said the Lord, and my servant, okay, let me go back. Ye are my witnesses, said the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me and understand that see that? I am he. Before me there was no God formed, and there shall form, neither shall I be after me. Even I am the Lord, and beside me there is no Savior. So the he right here is same as him. So if you go back over here to John chapter 1, verse 3, and all things were made by him. That's why he's telling you that over there in Isaiah 43. It's me, right? It says all things were made by him, and without him, right, was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. See that? So all they did was when they came back, they took this come out of the Old Testament, out of Tanakh. They came and tricked off this word, put this word, the word in there. Jesus is the word. But the whole time, when you understand what's happening, the Yahweh is talking to the Lord of hosts in the beginning. And between them two is what's going on with creation. And so they came here and put JC in there. And like I said, it knocked the Lord off of, just like playing chess. Just knocked them off the board and put JC there. So you say, what are you talking about? So like I said, it ends in Malachi. Malachi, we in the second beast. When we come to the third beast, when we get to Matthew, right? Go to Matthew. Go to Matthew chapter 1. I'm gonna read a little bit of it. I'm gonna read verses 1. It says, the book of the generation of Jesus, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Like I said, they took these 4 gospels and denigrated the Lord of hosts with them, right? So it says, the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, right? This when they brought in a new God, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Anyway, we know that all that. So then it says, 18, Matthew 1 and verse 18. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. When as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before he came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being of just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away. But while they thought on the things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him. Right. So now they in the setting. The setting for this is the fourth beast. It's during the time of the Romans. So you jump in this book right here that they say is holy. You jumping from Malachi, which is the second beast, at the end of the Old Testament, second beast, and then you picking up with the fourth beast. The third beast ain't in here that Daniel prophesied about. It's not even in here, right? So you say, well, what you talking about? What you mean? Okay. So keep in mind what the topic is. We're dealing with the King James Bible and the fourth beast, right? So, okay, let me get it right. Yeah, so let me read Maccabees, let me see what the second Maccabees, yeah. Second Maccabees. I showed you how they used the Gospels to bring in JC, and they denigrated, they took the Lord hosts out the picture. Once they got hold of our records, seeing how they operated when they concocted JC at the Council of Nicaea, then they came in and they put they used the four Gospels to bring in JC, right? So you go to Second Maccabees, right? Let me get it. If you got a apocryphal book, I'm on page 473. I'm gonna read this right quick, but I gotta read something else first to show you what's going on. So in Daniel, in the book of Daniel, right quick. You might have to go back and play this slow. Okay, connect the dots. So I'm in the book of Daniel, right? Like I said, these are things that's obvious. You know what I'm saying? You can't see this and you get the revelation on it, you don't deal with it. That's on you. So it says, chapter 12 of Daniel. Make sure I remember right. No, not Daniel chapter 9. It says, this abomination that make a dozen. So when you in Daniel 9 and 26 says, after 62 weeks, well, I start at 2025. This is another place they plug JC in at. We have videos on this on Zerubbabel. So this prince that's in Daniel 9:25 is Zerubbabel. So you can go on the channel and watch those videos. It says, know therefore and understand that from going forth for the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublesome times. So it says restore. So where they at? But and then it ain't but one time Jerusalem during the time of Daniel was when Nebuchadnezzar came. So if they're going to restore Jerusalem from where it was before Nebuchadnezzar came, it's not talking about the future. They got to restore. They're coming back from Babylon, and they got to restore Jerusalem. That's why he's saying the street's going to be built again, and the wall going to be built back up. That's what Nehemiah did. And the prince right here is Zerubbabel. We dealt with all that. But my point is this: the timeline. You start in verse 26. After 62 weeks, this after they come back and start and build Jerusalem back up. When Zerubbabel and Joshua and them and all them came back, it says after 62 weeks, shall the Messiah be cut off. That's Zerubbabel, right? But not for himself, the people of the prince that shall come. This Antiochus Epiphanes, the prince that shall come. This is my point. Shall destroy the city, this abomination and make it desolate, and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end wars and desolations. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, this Antiochus, in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblations to cease. And for the overspreading of the abomination, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation and that is determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So he tells you right here, abomination of desolation gonna happen. Then for 2,000 years, 2 days, Israel gonna be desolate. 2,000 years after that. So I want to shine a light on something right quick in this verse. It says, after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. That's Zerubbabel, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary and the end thereof. See that? The end thereof shall be with a flood. So what end is that? I want to show you that because it's important. So what end is he talking about? Go to you go to Daniel chapter. I think it's chapter 7. Let me get it. Maybe 8. Let me see. Yeah, chapter 8 of Daniel, right? Daniel had the vision of the ram and the he-goat. So I'm in chapter 8, verse 17. It says, and Gabriel's talking to Daniel, starting at verse 18. Daniel 8 and 18. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee to know what shall be in the last end. There goes your end right here. Not the end of the world. So this is where they tricked us off at. And when they concocted JC, now they taking everything that happened right here and they putting it to the end of the world. But Daniel and the prophets and the angels is talking about the end of Israel as a nation. So verse 19 says, and he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation, for the time appointed, the end shall be. So that's the abomination that make it desolate that I just read. That's what Gabriel told Daniel right here. It says verses Daniel 9:26. And after 62 weeks, right, shall both of these prophecies. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city, sanctuary, and the end thereof. The end is when Antiochus came, end of Israel as a nation. He brought Israel to a nation. He brought the nation of Israel to an end. Antiochus Epiphanes did. The Greeks, right? So let me give you another place. Chapter 10, I think it is. It says, let me get it. Well, it's in the same book, same place I was at. Yeah, it's Daniel 8. I keep reading. It says 8 and 19. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be the last end of indignation, for the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of the Medes and Persians. So right here I just showed you that Malachi is the end of the 3rd beast, Medes and Persians, right? I mean, second beast. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now, that being broken, so now we're dealing with the Greeks. Javan, 22. Now that being broken, where 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of that nation. The Greeks, Javan, not the Romans, but the Greeks. Said it's going to be divided into 4 parts, but not in their power. And in the latter end of their kingdom, the Greek kingdom, 3rd beast, when the transgressors are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance, and understanding dark sentence shall stand up. So this is Antiochus Epiphanes. Same over here in what I just read over here when it says Daniel 9:26, when it says the prince is gonna come. And it says the prince right here, Daniel 9:26 says, after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, the people of the prince. So when you go back and you read it, which I'm gonna do in a minute, when Antiochus first came on the scene, he was a prince. He was a prince in Rome. He was being held in Rome because of they was using him to control his daddy, Antiochus. But his daddy died, then he became the king. That's what Daniel is telling you right here in verse 23 of Daniel 8. And in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentence shall stand up. It's Antiochus. He became king. And then 24, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy. See that? This is the end of the third beast. He shall destroy wonderfully, and he shall prosper, practice. I'm going to read all that in a minute. And he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So right here, we see that he's going to destroy the holy people. There ain't but one holy people. And he's going to do it at the end of the third beast. And then verse 25 says, and through his policies also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many. They got you thinking all this going to happen at the end. It ain't happened yet, but it already happened. So 25 says, through his policies also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, he shall magnify himself in his heart. By peace he shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands. So right here, just identify the Lord of hosts again. So right here, prince of princes. Who is that? That's what Michael is, a prince. You're a son of God. You're a prince. He's the prince of all prince. He's the prince of prince. So he's the one that's over Israel. He's the savior of Israel. He's the one that went to Egypt and delivered Israelites. Like I said, he's the one that delivered Sarah from the Pharaoh. Okay, so right here, Antiochus came into the land of Israel, and he ran the Israelites out and destroyed the kingdom. He caused the abomination to make it desolate, and then the Lord came and destroyed him. That's why I'm going to pick it up here, right here. So now I want to read this, because all this is important. So now I'm in Second Maccabees, right? So I told you that Malachi is the end of the second beast at the end of the King James. Then you go to the beginning of the New Testament, and they got us in the fourth beast. The third beast ain't there. So this third beast is right here in First Maccabees. Everything I just read in Daniel 9 about the prince coming and destroying the sanctuary and all that, it's in First and Second Maccabees, right? So let's pick it up when the promise was made by Daniel that this prince was gonna come and destroy the sanctuary. It's gonna be laid desolate for 2,000 years, and then the prince, the Lord of hosts, is gonna destroy him. So let's look. I read this all the time, so I'm gonna read this a little bit of it. This is when the prophecy came to pass right here in Second Maccabees. I'm in chapter 9, verse 5. It says, but the all-seeing Lord, the God of Israel, struck him down, this Antiochus, with an incurable but unseen blow, for he had hardly uttered a word when he was seized with an incurable pain in his bowels and sharp internal pains. So that's when he killed him. It says, I'm just going to skip down and give you some of this. It says, the man who shortly before thought he could touch the stars of heaven, no more could bear to carry, thought that he could touch the heavens, no one could bear to carry because of his incurable stench. So it was then that broken in spirit, just like it said, he's going to be broken by the spirit, the prince of princes. He's going to be broken without hand. It says, so it was that broken in spirit, he began for the most part to give up his arrogance and under the scourge of God attained some knowledge, for he was tortured with the pains of every instinct. And when he could no longer endure his own stench, he said this, right? It is right to submit to God, and since man is mortal, not to think that he is God equal. And the vile fellow made a vow to the Lord, who would no longer have mercy on him, stating that he declared the holy city, which was the hastening, which was a hasting to level with the ground, and which he had proclaimed level to the ground to make a common graveyard free. As for the Jews who had decided were unworthy of burial, but should be thrown out with their children to the wild animals or the birds to pick, that he would make them all equal citizens in Athens, right? And the holy sanctuary, which before he had plundered, he would adorn with finest offerings, and he would give back all the sacred dishes many times over, and the expenses incident to the sacrifices he would supply from his own revenue, and in addition to this, he would become a Jew and visit every inhabitable place to proclaim the power of God. But when his suffering by no means ceased, for God's judgment had come upon him in the despair about himself, he wrote to the Jews the following letter. So right here he died. And this the prophecy coming to pass, what I just read. He's going to be broken without hand. But this is my point. Two things. It says, and the vile fellow made a vow to the Lord, who would no longer have mercy on him, stating that he decided that he declared the holy city, which he was hastening to level to the ground, and to make common graveyard free. And for this, the Jews who he had decided were unworthy of burial, but should be thrown out with their children to the animals for the birds to pick. He would make them all equal citizens in Athens. See that? Not Rome. So what's the capital city of Greece? Athens. It's the third beast. See that? Athens. Just like the scripture said, a king of fierce countenance is going to come at the end of the third beast. There it is right there. So we see right here, this prophecy came to pass. He broke him without hand, right? Just like Daniel said. But this is where I want to go. So Daniel also said that after he break him without hands, before he got broke without hand, he called the abomination of desolation. And from that point on, it wasn't no more Israelites in the land of Israel. It was going to be desolate. So right here, we just saw that he killed them, right? He brought that prophecy to pass. Well, let's look at this right here. This is where I showed you where they brought the hook in there right here. This is a major hook. I'm in Second Maccabees, chapter chapter 9, starting at verse 28. So the murderer and blasphemer, after the most intense suffering, this is Antiochus, such as he had inflicted on other people, ended his life most pitifully among the mountains in a foreign land, and his foster brother Philip took his body home, and then he feared the sons of Antiochus. He went over to the Ptolemaica in Egypt. Now, Maccabees, I told you the Maccabees is Edomites. It's the end of the third beast, right? Now, the Maccabees and his followers under the Lord's leadership. Check it out. Now, Maccabees and his followers under the Lord's leadership regained the temple. See that? Now, the scriptures I just read, Gabriel told Daniel, the abomination that make it desolate. Ain't nobody going to regain no temple. So right here, this is the hook. Just like they did with JC in Matthew. They brought JC in the picture, put the Lord out. Now all of a sudden, in the beginning was the word. They plugging JC in right here. You go another plug. So the murderer and blasphemer, after the most intense suffering, such as he had inflicted on the other people, ended his life most pitifully among the mountains in a foreign land, and his foster brother, Philip, took his body home, and then, as he feared the son of Antiochus, he went over to the Ptolemyer in Egypt. Now the Maccabees and his followers, under the Lord's leadership, see that? Under the Lord's leadership, regained the temple and the city, see that? And tore down the altars that had been built by the aliens in the public square, and also the sacred enclosures. And when they had purified, look at this, see that? And when they had purified the sanctuary, they built another altar. See that? This is where the Maccabees, this is where the Edomites come in at, right here. Right? So it says, and when they had purified the sanctuary, they built another altar of sacrifice, and striking flint and getting fire from them, they offer sacrifices. See that? The abomination that make it desolate is they stopped the sacrifices. Ain't gonna be no more sacrifices for 2,000 years. So it says, and when they had purified the sanctuary, they built another altar of sacrifice, and striking a flint and getting fire from them, they offer sacrifices. After an interval of 2 years, they burned incense, lighted lamps, and set out the purification load. And when they had done this, they fell on their faces and besought the Lord that they might never again encounter such misfortunes, but that if they should ever sin, he would discipline them with forbearance and not hand them over to blasphemous and barbarous heathens. And it came to pass, and it came about that on this very same day on which the sanctuary had been profaned by aliens, the purification of the sanctuary took place. That is, on the 20th day of the same month, which was Chetan, and they celebrated it for 8 days with gladness, like the camping out of the festival, and recalled how a little while before, during the camping out festival, they had been wandering in the mountains and caverns like wild animals. So carrying wands, leaves with leaves and beautiful branches and palm leaves, too, they offer hymns of praise to him who had brought to pass the purifying of his own place. And they passed a public ordinance. See that? They passed a public ordinance and decree that the whole Jewish nation should observe this day every year, such as the end of Antiochus, who they call Epiphany. See that? That's abomination. Anybody see that?
I
You
see
see
it.
that? There it is, right there. That's what they did. They come abomination that make it desolate. Now they coming back. It's nowhere in the scriptures. In the Tanakh, they're gonna rededicate the temple after Antiochus came. So what they did was they took the end right here. This is the end that Daniel talking about, but they took all that and put it to the end. End of when they concocted the JC, they put it at the end, but it's all happening right here. We're not looking, we ain't seeing it because we've been hoodwinked. But I'm showing it to you. Like I said before, they tricked the Lord of Hosts off in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, and they came to John and they put JC there, saying he the word. But in our actuality, it was Yahweh and the Lord of Hosts was there. And like I say, when you see this and it showed to you, like I said, it's a baboon could have did this. Like I said. But anyway, let's keep going. Let me see something else I want to deal with. Yeah, let me read the Revelations. I'll show you what they did at that. Keep in mind everything I just showed you, that all this stuff already happened. So I'm in Revelations 19, right? Revelation 19. Okay. Let me see where I'm at. Damn, okay. So I'm in Revelation chapter 19. Okay. Let me see what I'm reading. I'm reading verses 11 through 11 through 21. Okay, so okay, now here you go, the rider on the white horse. Now you gotta go to, in order to understand what I'm showing you now, you got to go to what the angel showed Ezra in Second Ezra about the when the Lord of hosts was coming back, or when David was coming back. But anyway, it's Revelation 19:11, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon it was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. His eyes were like a flame of fire, and his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed. Now, so right here, that they wrote that. Now we're gonna pick it up where they are plagiarizing. 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called, they go the word again right there, the word of God, right? And his armies which were in heaven followed him. So who in heaven that the angels followed? The Lord of hosts, right?
Yes, sir.
See that? So it says, and the angels and the armies which were in heaven. Michael over the armies in heaven. See that? And the armies which were in heaven followed him. They followed the Lord of hosts. Upon the horses, they added all this. The white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goes the sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and treaded the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty God. And he had on his vesture, as on his thigh, the name written, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, right? And I saw an angel standing in the sun, this Michael, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of the heavens, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. So let's look at it. So when Michael went to Egypt, what happened?
He was there when Moses was there to
He was
free the.
he was controlling the creeping things and the beasts and all that, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
Didn't he tell?
About
Didn't
the
he call
seven
the man?
plagues.
He called the frogs out of the water. He called the locusts. Was Jesus with him?
No, sir.
Okay, now look right here. It says 17, and I saw the angel standing in the sun. This Lord of hosts, same one that went to Egypt. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of the heavens, come, gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. See that? He ain't doing no different than what he did in Egypt. Wasn't no JC with him. They superimposed this over to the end. Anyway, uh, that you may eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, and the flesh of the mighty men, flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bound, both small and great. And I saw of the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together. This Ezekiel 37, I mean 39, 37 and 39. That's why he raised up Daniel. I'm gonna go there in a minute, show you this. But Daniel told us in chapter 2 of Daniel that when he explained to Nebuchadnezzar, when he explained it to Nebuchadnezzar that it's four beasts coming, and then there's a stone gonna come at the end, the saints of the Most High, right? And it's 19, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies. That's Ezekiel 39, right? Gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against him. So like I told you, that horse, that's something they dealing with, right? And 20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, right? So this is JC. I want you to understand that this from our scriptures. And when the beast was taken, I told you it's four beasts. The man ain't no man a beast. It's four beasts. They systems. You got the Chaldeans, the Medes and Persians, the Greeks, then the Romans. Rome, the system is a beast. So it says, and the beast was taken, right? The fourth beast, and with him the false prophet. So who the false prophet of the beast?
JC.
JC. That wrought miracles. See that? They got him right. They got him doing miracles. It's written in red before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. See that? JC. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And then the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So the beast, the fourth beast is, JC was created in the fourth beast, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
He's the false prophet. Come on. But they didn't turn it over here, and then they didn't trick it off, and you got you doing something else with it. But this didn't come from here. It came from over and out and Shinar. And they brought it over here, and they just added stuff to it. Like I said, you got to go back to all the movies. Watch all the movies you see. What Alexander was riding on, a white horse. Constantine. All of them was on white horses. That's added. But when you understand who the Lord of hosts is and how all that operates, you can see it. You see it. It's point blank. So he's that false prophet. The beast is wrong. The fourth beast, he that false prophet that the beast created, and everybody worshiping it. And you see the whole world. But anyway, let's go back to show you what I'm talking about. Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. Remember what we just read. Now, so Daniel prophesied all this, before it even happened. I showed you a bunch of that just a minute ago. So I'm in Daniel chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at 31. Chapter 2, 31. This is when Daniel is explaining to Nebuchadnezzar about the four beasts. I'm gonna start in 36. It said, "This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art the king of kings, for the God of heaven have given thee kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And whatsoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the fowls of heaven, have he given into thy hands, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art the head of gold. And after thee shall arise another." He prophesying this. Keep that in mind. "And after thee shall another arise, a kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over the earth." We just read in Daniel 8 that Antiochus was coming in the third beast, right? Being 40. "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all things, all these shall break in pieces and bruise. And whatsoever thou sawest, the feet and the toes, thou part potter's clay, part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou saw the iron mixed with miry clay." So you have to understand the iron is the fourth beast, right? The Gentiles. Go back to Tubal-Cain when he showed them how to make iron and metal and brass, and the warlike people. So you got iron, for as much as thou saw it mixed with miry clay. Adam was made out of clay, and all his descendants came from him. So the iron ain't gonna mix with the clay, even though we here together today, we never really mixed. We ain't never mixed. So it says, and as the toes and the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou saw iron, miry clay, he telling you, people, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. So Most High's people, Israelites, mingle with the seed of man. Right? So it says, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up his kingdom. Check it out. Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to another people, but it shall break in pieces, consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So that's why he tells you in Ezekiel 37, it's an army. The whole house of Israel, exceedingly great army. Because this is what Daniel telling you right here. At the end, 45. For as much as thou sawest a stone, they tell you that this JC. For as much as thou sawest a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, right, and the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, and the great God have made known unto the king, which shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and interpretation is true. So there it is right there. So the stone that come at the end is the saints of the Most High. Let's look at that right quick. Daniel chapter 8, I think it is. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and even ever. That's Ezekiel chapter 37. So they took all this stuff and they put it over there and chopped it up and put it over in Revelation. Right? So let me go one more place and deal with that right quick. Okay. Yeah, Daniel chapter 12. Let me get there right quick. It says, so like I told you, he said in Daniel chapter 8, he says that Gabriel told Daniel the time of the end, the Lord's indignation shall come to a full. The time of the end was that Daniel was talking about was when Antiochus came. The nation of Israel will come to an end, not the world. So we over in Daniel 12, and the title says the time of the end, right? And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince was standing for the children of our people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. Even at the same time, and at that time our people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they shall turn many to righteousness as the stars are forever and ever. But thou, Daniel, check it out, shut up the words, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Men shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. It's the end right here, the actual end. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood the other two, one on this side, on this side of the river, the other on that side of the river. And the one said to me, to the man, clothed in linen, it's the Lord of hosts, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end? Now watch this. This is how they tricked us off. So we just told you that Daniel going to stand up in the last days. That's Ezekiel 37. When he resurrected all our fathers, Daniel going to stand up in the end. Now, this end right here, it says 6. One said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall the end be for these wonders? Right here, what he talking about? 7. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, And I swore by him that liveth forever. He swore by Yahweh that it should be for a time. Check it out, a time and a half. And when he shall have accomplished, see that? Check it out. When he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So when Antiochus ran them out, that's when that was accomplished. Not the end of the world, not over there with Revelation and all that bull crap. He says right here, I'm going to read it again, verse 7. 12, Daniel 12 and 7. I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. This is the Lord of hosts. When he held up his right hand and his left hand under heaven to Yahweh, and swore by him that liveth forever, it shall be for a time and a half. And when he shall have accomplished, see that? Finished, the end. When he have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people. That's the abomination that make it desolate. The Antiochus did. All these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said, O Lord, my God, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the word to close up and seal to the time of the end. End of the end, right? Many shall be purified, made white, tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly. None of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Now here you go. From the time of the daily sacrifice, see that? Shall be taken away, an abomination that maketh desolate, set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, coming to the 1,305 and 30 days. But go thy way, talking to Daniel, go thy way till the time of the end, for thou shalt rest. Stand in thy lot in the end of days. That's Ezekiel 37. So where in there what I just read that they're going to rededicate the temple?
Nowhere.
See that? That's what they done. They took all this stuff that happened right here that was with Antiochus, and they took it and put it in the end for JC, saying that JC gonna come back, Antichrist coming, and all that garbage. So yeah, you get something? Any comments or questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So like I was saying before, do you really want to? Do you really want to really understand that when Daniel says that in chapter 8 that the time of the end is coming, the Lord's indignation gonna come to the end. That's the Lord of hosts cutting the nation of Israel off, not the end of the world. But they took it and they got you thinking it's the end of the world that he prophesied about. But no, he's prophesying about those events gonna happen right there with the end when Antiochus comes. And because of Israel's sins, he cut the nation of Israel off. And right there is when the tribulation started. But you got us waiting on the tribulation. That's why you got so many people thinking that we got to fight and do all this. When we don't, every time when the Lord came, we ain't had to fight nobody. He did all the fighting. So we know that's who coming back, not JC. Okay, everybody good?
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Okay. Let me hit this right quick. Let's say shalom to everybody.
Shalom.